Ephesians chapter 4, verse 3. You are joined together with peace through the Spirit. So make every effort to continue together in this way. Colossians chapter 3, verse 14. The Living Bible. Most of all, let love guide your life, for then the whole church will stay together in perfect harmony. Hi, good morning. Welcome to another episode. Today we're reviewing chapter 21 and we're making significant progress in the book review. And today's chapter talks about protecting your church. I know some of you might ask, do I have a church? What church am I trying to protect? But here, church is in context being used to classify everyone in God's family. So it's not a segregated sect. It's not Anglican. It's not Methodist. It's not Catholic. No, that's not the church we're talking about. We're not saying protect your individual church. No, we are saying protect the church. That is the body of Christ, right? As a whole. That's irrespective of whichever denomination you find yourself. Okay, so if you're confused and you're wondering why do I need to protect the church? Well, let's dive right into today's chapter review. So he says here that it is your job to protect the unity of your church. So wherever you find yourself, whatever community of God's family you find yourself, you have a responsibility, you have a part to play. Because just imagine if you're part of a team, right? Maybe a sports team. And for instance, you're 12 in that team. You have a duty as a member of that team to make sure that everybody in that team is okay. You may not be the captain, you may not be the head or the leader of the team. But as a member, you also have a responsibility. Do you know that what you do in that team can directly impact or indirectly impact the healthy behavior of that team? I mean, your actions, your words, your thoughts can directly or indirectly affect the state of that team, positively or negatively. Have you seen teams that encourage themselves, like really support themselves, and it's way beyond the sport itself? They support themselves financially, in their personal life, career-wise, in other areas of their life. When they are more like family, when there's a unity and there's a bond between them, you can see that the team turns out well. And for some fans, right, who support different teams in football, sometimes you can't seem to understand why some teams, they have the best coaches, they have the best players, they have the best tactics, formulas, everything, but you still find out that they lose out on the game. So it's not really about it's not really about the structure, it's not really about the tactics you put into place. It's about the people, the individuals, right? It's about their responsibility to protect that team, to protect that group. Okay? So we can even see the importance of unity in our church in the New Testament. Even Jesus, most of the disciples were majoring down and emphasizing on unity more than either heaven or hell. I know most people will deviate or say, our major goal is to make heaven or to make hell. And I feel like that's a fallacy. All right, that's not our goal. We are not in this earth to see whether we can make heaven or make hell. That's not the point. The point is unity. We are supposed to be one. We're God's family, right? So we're supposed to act as one. Okay? So he mentioned several ways we can actually protect our church. The first one is focus on what you have in common, not your differences. So in church, the devil tries to play mind games with you and then begins to point out everybody's flaws, everybody's faults, everybody's differences. And if you put so much of your energy on the differences, there will be division. You're going to hate yourselves. There'll be rivalry. All right, but you need to shift your mindset from what makes everyone different in church to what brings us together, what bonds us, right? Paul says, let us concentrate on the things which make for harmony and on the growth of one another's character. Okay, so what do we share in common as believers? Can any of you tell me? If you know, just let me know in the comments. What is one thing you feel like as a church we all have in common? We are all believers. We share one Lord, one body, one purpose, one Father, one Spirit, one hope, one faith, one baptism, and one love. These are things that we share in common, and this is where our mind should be focused on to protect the unity of the church. We share the same salvation. The Jesus Christ I receive is not different from the Jesus Christ you received. We all receive the same Lord, the same love, the same salvation. Okay? So that's one way to protect our unity in church, in God's house. Second way is to be realistic in your expectations. We come to church expecting everyone to be perfect. There's something Apostle Femi just always says. He says that the church it's like a hospital. Even Pastor Kingsley Okonkwo has said that as well. The church is a hospital, right? There are a lot of sick people. If you go to the hospital, for instance, you see a lot of sick people, wounded people, people who are not whole, people who are having one issue or health challenge or the other. And they come with one purpose in mind, to become whole, to become healed, to get better at their condition or their sicknesses. And that's the same way in church. The church, we have a lot of sheep, we have a lot of wolves, we have a lot of wounded people in church. So for you to come to church expecting that everyone in church has to be perfect, then you're highly illusional, right? You're highly illusional, or you're living in denial of what the reality is, because we're all human beings. No one is perfect. We're all bound to make mistakes. We're all bound to disappoint people, to hurt people, right? So we should be realistic in our expectations from the church. It's so hurtful and it's so painful that in today's world and age, we see Christians or a believer attacking other Christians. We see people paint the church as a very bad place because of their unrealistic expectations. They expect perfectionism from us. They expect all sorts of things. And you see, they come on social media and they talk a whole lot about the church, downgrading the church, dividing the church, and reducing the unity in the church. And that is not what we're supposed to do, okay? So he says here that other believers will disappoint you and let you down, but that's no excuse for stopping fellowship with them. I hear a lot of people say, I stopped going to this church because a pastor hurt me, a pastor did this to me. I'm not trying to invalidate or say that whoever did whatever hurt or harm to you deserves it or has the right to. But we should also bear in mind that we're all the same. We all make mistakes. We are not above errors, right? The same way people might have hurt you, the same way you might have also hurt others in church as well. But they did not decide to stop going to church because you hurt them. They are still there regardless. I'm going to recount my own story. So sometime in, I think, 2017, then I was still in school and I was attending my campus fellowship. There was a particular pastor that really, really hurt me, and he wasn't just doing it to me, he was doing it to other people in church. So it was a well-known thing. People had known that this is who this pastor is and this is what he's known for, right? But did that stop me from going to church? Of course not. I didn't come to church because of him. I came to church for God, right? So because of that mindset I had, it did not push me away. I still kept coming. And in the long run, I forgave him and we're cool. We were still talking, we're still communicating, just that we're not in close contact like before. So this thing requires wisdom and a mindset shift, right? Be realistic in your expectations. Know that people in church are not different from people outside the church. There's not a special covering. People feel like when you come to church, there's a special covering on everybody. These are the same people you meet on the streets. These are the same people you meet in your salon, in shops, in stores, in various places. There's no difference with them coming to church. That's one thing we should always have at the back of our minds. Another way we can help to protect the oneness amongst God's family is to refuse to listen to gossip, guys. We mentioned this in our previous episode when we talked about restoring. I think it was the previous two episodes, the one before the previous one. And gossip is bad, right? What we established was that there's nothing good about gossip. The more you listen to gossip and the more you gossip about people, the more you spread envy, you spread hurt, you spread bitterness among every other person. Now just imagine if you're a newcomer in a particular church and then the first thing you hear about someone is derogatory remarks, the bad things the person has done in that church. Would you be open to wanting to develop or create a relationship with that person? Of course not, because you have clouded your mind with all the perceived notions. And the truth is that these rumors might be false. These things they are gossip, this information they're giving to you that these negative things they are trying to say about this particular person could just be as a result of their own perception, which may be wrong. The way people perceive you may be wrong. So if you decide to treat other people based on the gossip or the negative information you've heard about them, then it's not really wise, right? It's not really wise. And the Bible calls people who gossip or who listen to gossip as foolish people, troublemakers. So the one way to protect unity in the house of God is to not listen to gossip. Always think good about other people. Always see people in a good light. Don't always see them from a negative point of view. Don't entertain any form of negative conversation about anybody in church. All right? Now, the next thing we can do to protect the unity in the house of God is to practice God's method of conflict resolution. Now, if you're wondering, how does God resolve conflict? Well, it is clearly written in the scriptures. And if we can follow this manual, it will be very easy. We will not have issues with anybody in church or in God's house or God's family or in a gathering of believers. There's a particular way God and Jesus in particular advised us on how to resolve conflict or issues in the New Testament. He says, if a fellow believer hurts you, go and tell him and work it out between the two of you. If he listens, you've made a friend. If he won't listen, take one or two others alongside so that the presence of witnesses will keep things honest, and try again. And then he says, if he still won't listen, then tell the church. So there is a structure here. There is a pattern. There is a method. So if we can incorporate this method of conflict resolution in God's house, trust me, we would have love overflowing. We will have unity. We will have peace among us. The thing that most people do when they have issues with somebody else, if someone hurts you, you will now keep it in your heart. Your heart will not be strong like agege bread. Then you will not be conceiving bad thoughts. You'll be overthinking, and the devil will now help you to start insinuating things about this person. You start seeing this person in a different light. You start being envious of the person. All the bad fruits will start, bearing hold in your heart. And there's something the Bible says in Ephesians 4:23-25. It says, don't let the sun go down on your anger. Don't give the devil a foothold. So the more you keep that hurt in your heart, the more you're giving the devil a bearing, a place to hold on to. And he's going to use it to torment you, right? And if you listen to an episode when we did word therapy some months back, I mentioned 3 things that the devil uses to take a hold of people: fear, anger, and doubt or worry. So if you understand these things, you know that if you practice God's way of resolving conflicts in church, you will not have issues with anybody, and you protect the peace and the unity in the house of God. All right. The next thing we can do to protect oneness is to support your pastors and leaders. This one is very, very important because we have seen leaders being dragged on social media. We've seen pastors being tagged for negative things on social media. We have seen pastors being taunted. We've seen pastors being blacklisted. We've seen a lot of things. And one thing I understand is that no matter who a pastor is, no matter what the pastor or the leader does to you, it doesn't give you any right to bring them down, to talk negative about them, to tell other people bad, or to feed other people bad information about your pastor or your leader. Because your prosperity is directly tied to your pastor or your leader, and that we see in the Old Testament, right? If you run down the grace and the honor on that pastor's life, irrespective of what the pastor has done or who the pastor has been labeled or tagged to be, you you lose the blessings that you're supposed to receive from that person. You lose that channel, that grace channel, or that grace source from that person. So try as much as possible, support your pastors, honor them, whether in private or in public. Honor them, support them wholeheartedly. And even though you've heard bad things about them, pray for them. There's no point trying to spread the rumors everywhere. Oh, have you heard Pastor so and so? She did this, she did that. Oh, have you heard Pastor this and that? He did that. No. That's not your place. It is God that called them, and it is God that anointed them, right? And even those who were not called, God will still convict them. So leave it to God, pray about it, and move on. All right? So support them. Try as much as possible to make the work easy for them. Don't make the work difficult, more difficult and more tedious for them, okay? So he says here, one pointer here says, we protect the fellowship when we honor those who serve us by leading. Okay, so in summary and in conclusion, the point to ponder is, it is your responsibility to protect the unity of your church. So now we have understood what the church is and the kind of church we're referring to, right? The church is wherever you find a gathering of believers. It's not tied to a particular name of a church or a particular denomination. Anywhere you find yourself where there's a gathering of believers, that is God's family, that is God's church, right? So you have a responsibility and you have a duty to protect the unity of that church, because remember, guys, our second purpose for why we were created is God's family. We were made for God's family. So you can't be a part of a family that you don't protect its interests, right? If the church is destroyed, there's nothing for you. Like, you're an orphan, right? So we need to protect our family, okay? Protect it from the attack of the enemy, protect it from outsiders, okay? Our verse to remember is Romans chapter 14, verse 19. It says, let us concentrate on the things which make for harmony and the growth of our fellowship together. Now I'm going to ask you one question. We already know that I've been asking you questions to ponder for each chapter review. So today's question is, what are you personally doing to protect the unity in your church family right now? Maybe you have been the whistleblower. You've always been the one spreading bad and negative information about other people in church. Now that you know, what can you do differently to protect the unity of your church? I hope that this has blessed someone and you have realized the wrong ways you have been bringing down or destroying the church, and you now embrace promoting and protecting the interests and the oneness of the church. Thank you so much, guys, for listening. Until I come here again, please stay faithful to the church. Bye.